It all happened over 22 years ago. I was around 15 at the time, and lived with my mom, sister, and dad. When we started living in the city, it was really small. It barely had any service. The only things that worked in the town were the old sawmill that my father used to work for, and the church. From a young age, me and my younger sister, that had 12 at the time, were used to go to the church. So we went to school at the day, and on the afternoon, we went to the church. Me and my sister had separate bedrooms. We lived in a brand new house. The house was big, made from concrete walls. We even had a backyard, where my mom used to grow yellow dahlias. Another important fact about the city is that at the time, some people used to do all kinds of satanic rituals around the town. One day, I was going around the town riding my bicycle. I went up a hill with one of my friends and my sister. My sister got on the bicycle with me, and we went downhill. In the middle of the hill, as we were going really fast, the bike did not brake. I tried my best to control the bicycle at the end of the hill, but me and my sister fell to the ground. I passed out from the impact. I woke up sometime later, at the hospital. I looked around. My mom was sitting right by my side. At the other bed of the room, my sister was laying there, sleeping. My mom explained to us that we passed out from the impact. I then looked at my arm. A huge wound was there, stitched with a plastic line. My sister was very hurt as well, even having some stitches at her chin. I cried a lot that day. At night, my mom had to go home. I had to stay at the hospital with my sister. One of the nurses was a tall black woman. Right before sleep, she came to our room and changed our dressings. At night, I woke up. The hospital was in absolute silence, and the hallways weren't fully lit. The door was opened. I really needed to go to the bathroom. The bathroom was in the hallway, so I had to get up. As I started walking, I looked outside the door. The hallways were completely empty. I walked into the bathroom. As I was using it, I locked the stall I was in. Suddenly I start hearing slow footsteps, as if something was dragging itself while walking. I then see black feet from under the door. They turned to the door and stood there. The feet weren't normal. They were very wounded, with a black substance coming from the wounds. Whatever it was, it banged its head once against the door. I was shaking, very scared. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't. Then, the feet started to walk away. I heard the steps going out from the door. I was crying from sheer fear. Took me a while to calm down and go back to my room. I then closed the room's door, and hid myself under the sheets. I only could sleep at dawn. I woke up at about 10 a.m., with one of the nurses serving us some breakfast. I did a talk with my sister about what I saw at night. My mom arrived sometime later, and she asked how was the night. I then told her what I had seen. She asked for the nurse to come to the room, and asked her if she had seen something at night. She replied saying that I hit my head too hard, and had to do some exams for concussion. My mom looked at me worried. The nurse then said it was going to be okay, and I could go home at the next morning, with my sister. I got happy, but at the same time I got worried for staying there another night. And then, right before dusk, the nurse came to change our dressings again. This time she gave us water right before going out. On the bed, I started to feel my body heavy. I then fell asleep really fast. I woke up at the middle of the night. I opened my eyes and realized I couldn't move. All I could hear was some weird chanting. I managed to look at my sister's bed. Like 5 people were around her, holding candles, and chanting at a weird language. The tall black nurse was there as well. She looked at me, her eyes completely white. I felt so much fear, that I ended up passing out, and peeing myself. The next day, I woke up, with the nurse calling me to change my clothes. I looked at my sister, she was sleeping peacefully. I changed my clothes, and sat at my bed waiting for my mom. As she arrived, I told her what I had seen at night. She just looked at me with sadness, and asked the nurse when the concussion exams could be done. I got very irritated by the whole thing. Me and my sister got sent home by lunchtime. As we got home, our mom and dad got very angry at us. My bicycle broke, and my dad said he wasn't going to fix it. We spent the rest of the day at home. Some of my friends came to visit me after school. My sister's friends came too, but she did not want to see them. After that, my friends went home, and it was dinner time. At the dinner table, my sister was very quiet. She used to be very talkative before that. Some days passed, almost everything normal, aside from my sister being a bit weird. In the middle of the night one day, I woke up, and started walking in the direction of the kitchen. When I was going by the living room, my sister was standing there, in the dark, alone. When I approached her, she then said, I screamed and turned the lights on. She had a large smile on her face, and her eyes were completely black. My mom and dad came quickly. They got scared and started calling her. She just stood there, quietly looking at us. Then she collapsed, and passed out. The next day, at dawn, my mom took her to the hospital. She did all the possible exams that day, and nothing was found. She came home at night, and went to her room. When my dad called her to come to the church the other day, she refused. From there, things only got worse. She would scream uncontrollably at night, and at some point even opened her own stitches, making her bleed. She would call me or the rest of my family during the day, meanwhile scratching at the wall. She did that, until her fingers were in the flesh. I was so scared of her, that every time my parents left home, I found a way to leave as well. I don't know exactly when my parents took the decision, but a priest was called to have a look at her. I wasn't home at the time. My dad said she tried to hit the priest, and that she had to be held by him and mom. I was at home when it finally happened a week later. In an afternoon, the priest came holding a Bible. My mom and dad got inside the room with him and my sister, and I locked myself at my room. At the time, I had a big audio tape recorder, and recorded parts of the audio. After that day, my mom took my sister to a hospital in another town. I will never forget the state she was in as she left. Her body was covered in feces and pus. Various wounds were bleeding, and she looked pale. She was carried to my mom's car. 2 weeks later she finally came back. And things finally went back to normal.